The massive alien warship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a dark storm cloud, its hull stretching 15 kilometers from end to end. Cities below fell into shadow as the colossal vessel positioned itself directly above major population centers. Streetlights flickered on automatically as darkness spread across continents. President Kim Hyun rushed through the corridors of the emergency command bunker, her security detail struggling to keep pace. The Situation Room buzzed with frantic activity as military officials, scientists, and world leaders connected via secure channels. Giant screens displayed the alien vessel from every angle, satellites, ground-based telescopes, and fighter jets maintaining a cautious distance, all fed live footage of humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. "Madam President, we are receiving a transmission," announced Communications Director Young Min Kyung, her voice tight with tension. "It's broadcasting simultaneously on every frequency, every network, every device on the planet." The room fell. Silent as the alien message began. The voice was cold, mechanical, yet unmistakably intelligent. It spoke in perfect Korean, English, Mandarin, Spanish, and dozens of other languages simultaneously, demonstrating an understanding of human civilization that sent chills down everyone's spine. Primitive species of Sol 3. Your recent expansion beyond your world's boundaries has been noted by the Cytherian Empire. You have constructed orbital stations, mining facilities on your moon, and probe missions to neighboring worlds. This expansion ends now. Dismantle all extraplanetary infrastructure within one solar cycle or face complete annihilation. Your weapons are crude, your technology laughable, resistance is futile. This is your only warning. The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. Outside, emergency sirens wailed across every major city as panic began to spread. Social media exploded with videos of the massive ship, its dark metallic surface covered in strange patterns that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Dr. Park Jin-ho burst through the security doors, his tablet clutched tightly in his hands. As Earth's leading expert on theoretical xenobiology and advanced physics, he had been analyzing the alien vessel since its arrival. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he approached the president's table. "The energy readings are incredible," he reported, his voice filled with both fear and fascination. "Their ship generates more power than our entire global electrical grid. The hull appears to be constructed from materials we can't even identify. But here's what's interesting. Their energy signature suggests they're using plasma-based weapons systems, highly advanced, but following predictable patterns." President Ha-un leaned forward. "What does that mean for us, Doctor?" "It means they've never encountered our type of technology before. Their shields, their defenses, everything is designed to counter energy weapons, particle beams, plasma cannons. They think we're primitive because we still use kinetic weapons, bullets, missiles, railguns. What they don't realize is that sometimes primitive can be devastating." Admiral Lee Min-jun stepped forward from his position near the tactical displays. His weathered face showed decades of military experience, and his eyes held a steely determination that had earned him respect across all branches of Earth's armed forces. "Madam President, I recommend immediate activation of Project Starwall," he said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. "We've been preparing for this scenario for over a decade, ever since our deep space sensors detected anomalous signals from the Proxima Centauri system." The room stirred with surprise. Project Starwall had been humanity's most classified military program, known only to a handful of individuals with the highest security clearances. Admiral Min-jun continued, "We have hidden weapon platforms throughout the solar system, asteroid bases armed with nuclear-tipped railguns, stealth satellites equipped with kinetic kill vehicles, and converted mining ships loaded with explosive charges. The aliens expect us to roll over and surrender. They're about to learn that humans don't go quietly into the night." Through the command center's reinforced windows, they could see the alien ship hovering motionlessly above the city. Strange lights flickered along its surface, and occasionally smaller craft, no larger than fighter jets but moving with impossible grace, would detach from the main vessel and patrol the surrounding airspace. Dr. Jin-ho pulled up holographic displays showing the ship's scan results. "Look at this," he said, pointing to energy pattern readings. "They're scanning our planet, cataloging our resources, our population centers, our military installations. They're treating this like a routine conquest, probably one they've performed hundreds of times before across the galaxy." President Hyun stood, her decision made. She activated the global emergency broadcast system, preparing to address not just her nation but the entire world. Her words would either unite humanity in its darkest hour or create mass panic that could destroy civilization before the aliens even fired a shot. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "We face a threat unlike any in human history, but we also face an opportunity. For the first time, every nation, every person on this planet shares the same enemy. Today, we are not Korean, American, Chinese, or any other nationality. Today, we are human, and we will fight as one." The die was cast. The die. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin. The world held its breath as President Kim Ha-yoon stepped before the cameras in the Global Defense Command Center. Behind her, massive screens displayed the alien warship still hovering menacingly above major cities. Her words would either unite humanity or seal their doom. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice carrying across every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth. 24 hours ago, we were divided by borders, languages, and ancient rivalries. Today, an alien empire threatens to erase us all. They call us primitive. They offer us slavery or death. But they have made one critical mistake. They underestimated the human spirit." She paused, letting her words sink in across the globe. "For the first time in human history, we stand united not as separate nations, but as one species fighting for survival. Every resource, every weapon, every brave soul. Willing to fight, we are one people now." Within hours of her speech, something miraculous began happening. Cargo planes crossed international borders without customs checks, carrying weapons and supplies to strategic locations. Russian nuclear submarines surfaced alongside American destroyers. Chinese space stations opened their docking bays to European fighters. The planet was mobilizing like never before. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, engineer Choi Soo-jin raced through the corridors of Project Star Wars' primary facility. The massive underground complex had been carved from solid rock over the past decade, housing humanity's most advanced and secret military technologies. Her team of engineers worked around the clock, their fingers flying across holographic control panels as they brought decades of hidden research online. "Fusion torpedo production is at maximum capacity," reported her assistant, Dr. Kim Jae-sung, sweat dripping from his forehead. "We're manufacturing one warhead every 3 minutes. The quantum railgun prototypes are being mounted on asteroid mining platforms throughout the solar system." Choi Soo-jin nodded grimly as she watched massive, robotic arms assembling weapons that had existed only in theoretical designs just days before. "What about the shield generators? Can we protect our major cities?" "The experimental energy barriers are untested against alien plasma weapons," Jae-sung replied. "But they should provide some protection for civilian evacuation zones. The real question is whether our kinetic shields can handle whatever those monsters throw at us." Across the facility, enormous conveyor systems carried completed weapons toward launch bays. Converted cargo shuttles, now armed with nuclear-tipped missiles, prepared for their journey to hidden staging areas throughout the solar system. Every mining ship, every commercial satellite, every piece of space-based infrastructure was being retrofitted with weapon systems. Meanwhile, in the xenobiology lab, Dr. Park Jin-ho made a discovery that would change everything. His team had been analyzing the alien ship's energy emissions for 72 hours straight, searching for any weakness in their seemingly invincible technology. "Look at this pattern," he said to his research partner, Dr. Lee Hyo-jin, pointing to the holographic display showing the alien vessel's shield frequencies. "Their defensive systems pulse in predictable cycles designed to deflect high-energy plasma bursts and particle beam weapons. But watch what happens when I simulate the impact of a simple kinetic projectile." The simulation showed a standard Earth railgun round striking the alien shield. Instead of bouncing off harmlessly, the projectile passed through the energy barrier, like it wasn't even there. Their technology is so advanced that it can't comprehend our primitive approach, Dr. Jinho explained excitedly. It's like using armor designed to stop bullets against someone throwing rocks. The armor ignores the rocks because it's programmed to stop more sophisticated threats. Word of this discovery spread quickly through the global command network. Within hours, every kinetic weapon on Earth was being modified and improved. Ancient artillery pieces were fitted with guidance systems. Railguns designed for launching cargo into orbit were loaded with explosive warheads. Even simple missile systems suddenly became humanity's most valuable assets. At the Lunar City military base on the Moon's surface, Captain Yang Tae-ho addressed a room filled with pilots from every nation on Earth. The converted mining facility had become humanity's forward operating base, its launch bays now housing fighters, bombers, and converted civilian craft, all armed for battle. "We all know the odds," he said, looking into the faces of men and women who had volunteered for what everyone understood was a suicide mission. "The alien ship outguns us 1,000 to 1. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. By every logical calculation, we should surrender and hope for mercy." He paused, seeing nods of understanding around the room. These weren't naive young soldiers looking for glory. These were experienced pilots, engineers, and soldiers who understood exactly what they were facing. But logic never accounted for human stubbornness, Captain Tae-ho continued with a grim smile. "The aliens have conquered 1,000 worlds, enslaved 1,000,000 species, but they've never faced anything like us. They've never encountered a species that looks at impossible odds and says, 'Challenge accepted.'" The room erupted in determined shouts and applause. Pilots from countries that had been enemies just days before now embraced each other as brothers and sisters in arms. The volunteer list for the first attack wave was overflowing, with 3 applicants for every available position. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the power of desperate courage. The Catharian attack began at dawn. Smaller, alien craft, sleek and deadly, poured from the massive mothership like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. Their plasma cannons lit up the sky with brilliant green fire as they targeted Earth's orbital defense platforms. The aliens expected this to be a quick demonstration of power, a few devastating strikes to break human morale before accepting surrender. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Commander Park Min-ho watched from the bridge of the converted mining vessel Iron Mountain as enemy fighters streaked toward Earth's atmosphere. His ship had been hauling asteroid ore just 3 days ago. Now it bristled with improvised weapons, industrial cutting lasers, magnetic rail launchers, and a cargo bay full of explosive mining charges. "All ships, this is Iron Mountain Actual," he broadcast to the mixed fleet of military vessels, converted cargo haulers, and even armed pleasure craft that made up humanity's desperate defense force. "Remember, their shields ignore kinetic impacts. Hit them with everything solid we've got. Make every shot count." The first wave of alien fighters expected to sweep through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. Instead, they flew straight into a storm of metal, rock, and explosive death. Railgun rounds punched through their energy shields as if they didn't exist. Ancient artillery shells, fired from orbital platforms, struck alien hulls with devastating effect. Pilot Kang Ji-woo gripped the controls of his modified fighter as he dove toward the alien mothership. His craft had been a civilian transport just days before, but now its cargo bay was packed with nuclear charges and its engines pushed far beyond safe limits. Through his cockpit window, he could see the massive alien vessel looming ahead like a dark mountain in space. "This is Phoenix 1, he radioed to his wingman. "I'm beginning my attack run. Tell my family I love them." "We're right behind you, Phoenix 1, came the reply from pilot Lee So-young in Phoenix 2. "Let's show these aliens what humans do when we're cornered." Ji-woo's fighter screamed toward the alien ship at maximum velocity. Enemy plasma bolts flashed past his cockpit, but the alien gunners couldn't track his erratic flight pattern. Human pilots didn't follow predictable attack vectors. They flew like madmen, taking risks that no logical species would attempt. The alien hangar bay grew larger in his vision. He could see Catharian fighters launching from the massive opening, their pilots completely unaware of the nuclear-armed missile heading straight for them. At the last second, Jiwoo activated his ejection seat, but he was too close to the target. The nuclear explosion that followed lit up half the Earth's sky like a second sun. When the light faded, a massive hole had been torn in the side of the alien mothership. Atmosphere and debris poured from the wound as secondary explosions rippled through the vessel's interior. For the first time in the battle, the aliens seemed to hesitate. Commander Minho seized the moment. "All mining ships, target that breach. Cutting lasers at maximum power." The converted industrial vessels moved in like a pack of wolves. Their massive laser arrays, designed to slice through solid rock, began carving deeper into the alien hull. The Cytherian ship's armor, designed to deflect energy weapons, simply couldn't handle the focused industrial cutting beams that operated on completely different principles. "Their hull plating is cracking!" shouted engineer Choi Hae-won from the Stone Crusher, another converted mining ship. "These industrial lasers are cooking right through their armor like it's made of paper." The battle became a chaotic swirl of desperate tactics and improvised warfare. Human ships that should have been destroyed in seconds somehow stayed in the fight, their crews performing impossible repairs while under fire. When the cargo runner lost its main engines, Captain Nam Jin-soo had his crew literally throw explosive charges out the airlocks, turning his ship into a floating bomb factory. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that refused to follow any logical combat doctrine. Human fighters would deliberately ram enemy vessels, sacrificing themselves to take down ships worth 100 times more. Cargo ships became kamikaze missiles. Even damaged vessels would fight until their final breath, often taking alien ships with them when they exploded. Squadron leader Yi Kyung-ho led a desperate attack on an alien cruiser using nothing but converted cargo pods filled with mining explosives. "Remember, we're not trying to win pretty," he told his pilots over the radio. "We're trying to make them bleed. Every alien ship we destroy is one less threat to our families." His makeshift squadron dove toward the enemy vessel like ancient kamikaze pilots, their cargo pods exploding against the alien hull in brilliant flashes of fire and metal. The cruiser's shields, designed to stop plasma weapons, offered no protection against simple explosive charges delivered at high velocity. After 6 hours of brutal combat, something unprecedented happened in the history of the Cytherian Empire. Their fleet began to retreat. 12 alien vessels had been destroyed or severely damaged by what they had dismissed as primitive savages. The mothership, wounded and bleeding atmosphere, slowly began to pull back from Earth's orbital space. Admiral Vexcaran stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. In 10,000 years of conquest, no species had ever inflicted such damage on a Cytherian fleet. These humans fought like creatures possessed, willing to die for principles the Empire couldn't understand. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology. It was the refusal to surrender. Emperor Vaxdar stood in his throne chamber aboard the massive fortress ship, Eternal Dominion, his 6 eyes blazing with fury as he watched the battle reports from Earth. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, no species had ever dared to inflict such humiliation on the Cytherian Empire. His crimson scales rippled with rage as he crushed the data tablet in his massive clawed hand. "Summon the Second Armada," he commanded his trembling military advisors. "Deploy every destroyer, every battle cruiser, every planet killer we have in this sector. I want 500 ships converging on that primitive world. We will reduce their planet to cosmic dust as an example to the entire galaxy." Word of the incoming armada reached Earth through deep space sensors, sending shockwaves through the Global Defense Command. 500 warships, each one larger and more powerful than the vessel that had nearly destroyed Earth's orbital defenses. The numbers were beyond hopeless. Even optimistic military analysts calculated that humanity had perhaps 6 hours before complete annihilation. Dr. Park Jin-ho worked frantically in his laboratory, surrounded by quantum computers and experimental communication equipment. His team had been developing instantaneous communication technology for years, but the alien threat had forced them to complete decades of research in just days. "The quantum entanglement array is online," he announced to President Ha-un over the emergency channel. "We can now coordinate every defense platform, every ship, every weapon in the solar system, with zero communication delay. When they arrive, we'll fight as one unified force instead of scattered units. Across the globe, the quantum network activated. Suddenly, Admiral Lee Min-jun could coordinate with defense platforms on Mars in real time. Captain Park So-jin's squadron near Jupiter could receive instant tactical updates from Earth's surface. For the first time in human history, the entire solar system became one massive, interconnected battlefield, but even perfect coordination wouldn't be enough against 500 alien warships. That's when Dr. Lee Yoo-jin revealed humanity's most desperate gambit. In a secret facility buried deep within the asteroid belt, her team had been converting massive mining ships into something the galaxy had never seen before: kinetic kill vehicles capable of reaching near light speed. These aren't ships anymore, she explained to the War Council via quantum link. They're guided missiles the size of skyscrapers, powered by fusion engines and loaded with nuclear warheads. When they impact an alien vessel at 20% light speed, the explosion will be visible from neighboring star systems. The catch was horrifying. Each kinetic kill vehicle required a human pilot to guide it through the alien defenses. The G-forces alone would kill the pilot long before impact, but human guidance was necessary to adjust course and target the most critical enemy ships. Volunteers lined up by the thousands. Captain Kim Jun-seo stood in the cramped cockpit of the converted asteroid miner Mountain Breaker, now fitted with the most powerful engines humanity had ever built. Around him, 49 other pilots prepared for the most one-way mission in human history. Each ship was essentially a guided meteor, designed to accelerate until the pilot blacked out from the crushing forces. This is Mountain Breaker to all. Kinetic strike pilots, he broadcast over the quantum network. We're not going home today, but we're going to make sure Earth has a tomorrow. Lock onto your targets and prepare for maximum acceleration. The alien armada arrived like a plague of metal locusts, their ships blotting out the stars as they formed attack formations around Earth. Emperor Vaxdar himself commanded from the flagship Galaxy's End, a vessel so massive it generated its own gravitational field. He expected the humans to surrender immediately upon seeing his overwhelming force. Instead, humanity's response was to attack first. The quantum communication network allowed Earth's defenders to coordinate an assault. That seemed impossible. Ships attacking from Mars synchronized perfectly with fighters launching from Earth's moon. Weapons platforms hidden in Jupiter's rings opened fire at precisely the same moment as railguns positioned near Saturn. But the real shock came when the kinetic kill vehicles began their attack runs. Captain Jun-seo gritted his teeth as his ship accelerated beyond human endurance. The G-forces pressed him into his pilot's seat with crushing weight, but he maintained control long enough to guide his massive projectile toward the alien flagship. Through his blurred vision, he could see other kinetic strikes streaking across space like falling stars. For Earth, he managed to gasp into his radio before the acceleration finally claimed consciousness. His ship continued its deadly trajectory, guided now by automated systems toward the heart of the alien fleet. The impacts were devastating beyond imagination. When a ship the size of a city block struck an alien cruiser at 20% light speed, the explosion created a miniature star that lit up the entire solar system. One by one, the kinetic kill vehicles found their targets, each impact destroying not just the target ship, but damaging everything within thousands of kilometers. The aliens had never encountered weapons like these, crude, primitive, but delivered, with such devastating force that their advanced shields and armor became meaningless. They were watching their most powerful warships being destroyed by what amounted to guided asteroids piloted by suicidal madmen. Admiral Vex Karan, commanding the alien fleet's tactical division, watched in horror as his formation disintegrated. They're not fighting a battle, he realized, his voice filled with a mixture of fear and respect. They're conducting a ritual sacrifice, offering their lives to destroy ours. What manner of species fights with such insane courage? When the final kinetic strike completed its mission, nearly 200 alien ships had been destroyed or critically damaged. The survivors, including Emperor Vaxdar's flagship, began a hasty retreat from the solar system. For the first time in the Empire's history, they were running from an enemy they had vastly outnumbered. Humanity had won again, but the cost was staggering. 50 brave souls had piloted their ships into oblivion, and hundreds more had died in conventional combat. Yet somehow, impossibly, Earth still stood free. The galaxy was learning that humans didn't just fight wars, they redefined what warfare meant. The battle for Earth's survival reached its climax as Emperor Vaxstar himself arrived in his personal dreadnought, the Universal Crusher. This wasn't just a warship. It was a mobile fortress the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. The Emperor's rage had consumed all reason. He would personally oversee humanity's destruction, even if it meant glassing their entire solar system. Captain Ohye Jin stood alone on the bridge of the Last Hope, Earth's final operational warship. Around her, the twisted wreckage of both human and alien vessels drifted through space like a graveyard of steel and dreams. Her crew of 60 volunteers had stayed behind when evacuation was offered, knowing this would be their final mission. All stations report ready, Captain, announced engineer Kim Yun-ho from the engine room. His voice carried a strange calm, the peace that comes when someone has accepted their fate and chosen to meet it with dignity. Fusion reactor is overloaded and locked on maximum output. We're essentially flying a bomb with engines now. Through the view screen, Captain Hai-Jin could see the massive alien dreadnought approaching Earth's orbit. Its weapons were already charging, preparing to reduce humanity's homeworld to molten slag. Smaller escort ships surrounded it, like protective sharks, but they seemed insignificant compared to the monstrous flagship. "This is Captain Hai-Jin to all remaining Earth forces," she broadcast across the quantum network. "The Last Hope is beginning final attack run. It's been an honor serving with all of you. Tell our families we chose to stand." President Ha-Eun's voice crackled over the communication system from the emergency bunkers below. "Captain, the entire world is watching. Make it count." The Last Hope began its acceleration toward the alien flagship, its engines pushed far beyond safe limits. Captain Hai-Jin had disabled all safety protocols. The ship would either complete its mission or tear itself apart trying. There would be no retreat, no second chances. Emperor Vaxstar watched the approaching human vessel with amusement from his command throne. One tiny ship against his mighty dreadnought. The humans had finally lost their minds completely. He decided to let it approach, planning to destroy it at the last moment as a demonstration of his power. As the Last Hope streaked through space, something unprecedented happened. The ship's velocity continued increasing well beyond what its engines should have been capable of. Captain Hai-Jin had ordered her engineers to feed the fusion reactor's output directly into the engine systems, turning her vessel into a relativistic projectile. "Hull temperature is approaching critical levels," reported Lieutenant Park Jae-min from the engineering station. "But we're achieving speeds no human ship has ever reached. We're actually approaching light speed, Captain." Through the bridge windows, the stars began to stretch into lines as the ship approached relativistic velocity. The crew felt the crushing weight of acceleration, but they held their posts with grim determination. Each of them knew they were writing the final chapter of humanity's first interstellar war. Emperor Vaxstar's amusement turned to alarm as his sensors registered the human ship's impossible velocity. No species in the galaxy had ever attempted such a suicidal tactic. Ramming at near light speed would create an explosion equivalent to a stellar collision. The damage would be catastrophic for both vessels. "Evasive maneuvers," he roared at his bridge crew. "That ship is moving at relativistic speed. If it impacts us, the explosion will—" His words were cut off as the Last Hope struck the Universal Crusher's hull at 98% light speed. The collision created a brief, brilliant star that outshone Earth's sun. The explosion was visible from neighboring star systems, a beacon of defiance that announced humanity's refusal to surrender. When the light faded, both ships had been completely vaporized. The Emperor of the Cytherian Empire, ruler of 10,000 worlds, had been killed by a single human captain, willing to trade her life for her species' freedom. The surviving alien commanders, scattered across the solar system, stared in shocked silence at the expanding cloud of energy where their leader had died. Admiral Vex Curran, now the highest-ranking survivor, realized that continuing this war would only lead to more impossible human victories bought with blood and sacrifice. "Attention all Cytherian forces," he broadcast to the remnants of the once mighty Armada. "Cease all offensive operations immediately. Begin withdrawal to safe distance. We need to reassess our approach to this species." But the message that truly changed galactic history came 12 hours later, transmitted across the Empire's quantum communication network to every world under Cytherian rule. "To all commanders and governors of the Empire, we have encountered a species unlike any in our 10,000 years of conquest. The humans of Sol 3 cannot be conquered, cannot be broken, cannot be intimidated. They are death itself when threatened, willing to sacrifice everything for principles we do not understand. Recommend immediate reclassification from primitive species to apex predator. Approach with extreme caution. They turn impossible odds into victory through sheer will." Emperor Vaxstar's successor, his younger brother Kexstar, found himself in an impossible position. The Empire's military reputation was shattered. Rebellions were beginning on conquered worlds inspired by humanity's example, and the Senate was demanding explanations for the devastating losses. His solution was unprecedented in Cytherian history. He requested a diplomatic meeting with the humans. President Hayun emerged from the emergency bunkers to find her planet battered but free. The alien blockade had withdrawn, their surviving ships maintaining a respectful distance from Earth's orbital space. When the diplomatic request arrived, she convened an emergency session of the newly formed Global Parliament. Their offering: "US membership in the Galactic Council," she announced to the assembled representatives of Earth's nations, "not as conquered subjects, but as equals. They want to end this war before we inspire other species to rebel against the Empire." The debate was brief. Humanity had proven its strength, but continuing the war would only lead to more death and destruction. However, Earth's terms for peace were non-negotiable. "We accept membership in the Galactic Council," President Ha-Un announced in her response to the Cytherian Empire. "But we join not as subjects seeking protection, but as guardians ensuring justice. No species will face your ultimatums alone again. Any world threatened by the Empire will find humanity standing beside them." The galaxy trembled at those words. For the first time in 10 millennia, the Cytherian Empire had been forced to accept terms of peace rather than dictate them. More importantly, the oppressed worlds throughout the galaxy now had hope, and protectors who had proven they would fight impossible odds for freedom. The Cytherian Empire learned that day that some species cannot be conquered. They can only be respected or destroyed. Humanity had chosen to be respected, and their choice forever changed the balance of power among the stars. The war was over, but humanity's real mission was just beginning. They had become the galaxy's guardians, and the universe would never be the same. The end